I'm just going to go ahead and... Okay, welcome back. A week has passed since we started this playthrough. I'm just going to step out of the elevator so that I'm just not talking over elevator music. So a couple things have happened in the real world during that week. First of all, are you guys seeing the stream yet? I'm not seeing it yet.
Yes.
A couple things that are happening in that week is I was hopefully able to sort out the audio levels.
Huzzah!
Yeah, huzzah. And the other thing that happened in the last week is that I was able to play through the rest of System Shock so that I'm a little bit more familiar with what's about to happen to me and will not get lost. So here we are on the storage level, which is where we kind of left off. And I want to, just to start off, I'm going to... It started, but I can't hear anything someone's saying. Are we getting audio? Can someone check the stream, please?
I'll check.
Sean, what was that?
I will check if you haven't already.
Yeah, I don't have it yet. So.
You don't have the stream yet, or you don't have audio?
I don't have the stream at all yet. So.
Okay.
But that's on my side.
Okay. Yeah, because obviously... Alright, great. So at least some of you are seeing me, and at least some of you are hearing me, and hopefully some of you are the same people.
Yeah, audio is fine.
Alright, great. So we left off on the storage level, and I just wanted to start by, now that we have the capability of playing audio logs, I just wanted to start by playing a couple emails. And the first one I'm going to play is Rebecca's first email that she sends to you.
On Citadel Station, something involving an onboard AI called Showdown. You are Triop's only contact on station. Communications are out, and there is evidence of biological contamination. The mining laser is charging for a possible strike against Earth. There's a man named Nathan Darcy who may know something about taking the laser offline. His office is near the central hub on your level. The AI is on the bridge. Once the laser is out, look for the source of the problem there. And by the way, we know all about you.
I don't actually hear any of the audio. I only hear the feedback back through you, Mark.
Well, you'll only hear it through the stream. You won't hear it through Skype. I'm not piping the game back through Skype.
Right, but I have Twitch TV up and I'm watching the stream.
Do you have the stream muted? Anyway, so that was the very first email you get when you start playing the game, and she talks about the laser, the mining laser, which is charging up, and she talks about once you've dealt with the laser, get to the bridge. Okay, and so we've dealt with the laser. We turned on the shield, we fired the laser, and then I wanted to play this other email that we got at some point while we were on our way here.
Hello? Is someone out there? We have you on the security monitors, but no one knows who you are. We're on the flight deck. We're almost out of ammunition, and they're bringing up something new. A Cortex reaver. Look for the code, gray, on the walls. We're in the south, past 2 convection ships. What? Everybody down!
So those are basically the 2 calls to action that we have right now. So it's get to the bridge, which is pretty much all we know. That's our only directive. And plus, we got this other email from Anna Perovsky about, hey, we're stuck in the flight deck. And can you get there? And you can see that our health and energy are pretty low at this point. I'm actually had my shield on this whole time. Maybe I should, take that off for a second. I'm actually going to switch to full screen now so that I can play the game better. Yeah, so those are our 2 big calls to action. And you can see that our health is a little bit low, our energy is a little bit low. We can actually check in our ammo situation. Let's see, how do we do that? We go over here, we pick a weapon. Right, so we have some pistol clips and a few magnum clips and things like that. But here we are on the storage level, right? And this is sort of a good place to try and kind of recuperate from the previous plot. We've already, I believe this is the CPU room. We've already taken care of the CPUs for the storage level. And Doran, you did this level, right?
The looks familiar.
Storage level was one of yours, yeah? Pretty
Yeah.
sure.
And so this is, I think, an example of kind of what you were talking about last time with, this is kind of a place that doesn't feel as stationy as some of the rest of the game and feels more dungeony.
Yep.
Playing through this
I'm
recently...
afraid so.
Playing through this recently, it definitely does feel like a set of discrete encounters with sort of loot at the end of each. I'm gonna use my spark beam.
Yeah, so if you look at the... Somebody linked earlier in the chat to a bunch of maps. And if you can actually go through deck by deck and look at their footprints.
Right.
And a lot of them have the kind of standard octagonal, clearly it's the space station footprint. But if you look at the storage thing, it looks kind of shapeless, like a sort of rectangle.
And already we can see that I'm not very good at this game. Because I just died. Thankfully, I already have the... Alright, it may take me a couple tries to get my shock legs back up from a couple days ago. Improve memos, yes, is the third call to action, because our memos are never good, is what the cyborgs are always saying to us. Except for that guy. You can hear this guy who's saying, why lose us any business? I think mostly... Oh, yeah, the riot gun is good for moving live landmines. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. Yeah, but I'm leaving the riot gun because mostly... Yeah, it's kind of an impractical weapon. It's mostly a physics weapon that, shoots projectiles that knock you back. So...
Hey guys, it's Austin.
Hey, it's Austin.
I seem to be online.
Welcome, Austin.
So we were just exploring the storage level, which is kind of an interlude between our... Oh, that's a thing. That's a 0G mutant. What's... I'm going to try this on you. Oh, that seems to work. So we're exploring the storage level, which we were just commenting is very dungeony. And Dorian was commenting, if you look at the footprint of the level, it doesn't look as octagonal and stationy as the other levels. But, it is the storage level, right? So the actual walkable part of the map, right, might be not very octagonal and stationy, right? You can imagine, hey, look, an EMP grenade. Might be... You can imagine, containers in the spaces that are not navigable. For storage.
I guess you kind of have to imagine that the way I built.
yeah, the way you built it.
Yeah.
Dorian, would there have been somebody who would have been looking over your shoulders to criticize that?
Not necessarily. Everyone was had a pretty full slate of things to do. We didn't have a very big design team, so.
And nobody was reviewing other people's levels, or not at that, scope, I guess.
We were playing each other's levels, but more to an eye to the gameplay more than the architecture.
Yeah.
No one was watching Dorian.
Yes, he was an unsupervised child.
It's a miracle that my levels aren't just all one big room with some loot floating in it.
Well, a linear chain, really, of rooms,
Yes.
right?
It was off the rails.
Right. So this is a repulsor lift puzzle. I'm still getting my shock legs back, but this is a repulsor lift puzzle. This repulsor lift doesn't go all the way to the floor, so you have to kind of like get on the top, and then you can walk over to here, and that changes the repulsor lifts so that you can get into... Now, how do we do this? I forget. You change the... Oh, maybe we have to do this switch also? Yeah, alright, so we do this switch. And now we have a situation where we can kind of jump into this little cage here, So this little cage is 4 doors on both sides that never open, but you have to arrange the repulsor lift so that it's not going to push you out as you try to jump in from the top. And then you can get over here.
Woohoo!
And
Look at that.
I don't remember what the awesome prize is for having done that, but
Probably
Yeah,
a
the
severed
camera.
head. Severed head.
yeah. Oh no, you get some mag pulse love and some first aid kit love. Oh, an iCAD battery. Right. Oh, so one of the things I wanted to mention is, like, you know, you can imagine in 1994, we played those audio logs. You imagine in 1994 that, like, we imagined that, like, voice email is the thing of the future, right? That everyone's gonna send emails in the form of, you know, really, I'm only ever gonna use my spark beam to shoot out cameras, so I'm just gonna set it to the lowest possible setting. And if it takes me a couple shots to get a camera, that's okay. Maybe we'll set it a little higher.
God, if that were, it would just be like getting voicemail all the time.
Yeah, well, I mean, imagine going back and telling us in 1994 that you're going to be carrying around this thing that has an internet connection and a touch screen and a camera and is a phone, and you're going to be using it to send text messages. Like, not only that, but you're going to use the voice dictation software on the thing to dictate your text
Create the
messages.
text, yes.
yeah.
Rather than just calling someone.
Yeah, no, that's who would do that? That requires them to be there. Jeez, how rude. All right, let's see. How am I gonna deal with this dude?
All right, since we got Austin in the call, let's just do a quick summary of everyone who's in the call.
Right.
What's your name? What did you do on Shock? Just for people who've forgotten
terrible
or
at this
weren't here
game.
the first time. So, Mock, you first.
Yeah, I'm Mock. I was a gameplay and UI engineer, so all of the terrible GUI is my fault, at least from a technical perspective, on Shock.
That's Mark LeBlanc.
Mark LeBlanc. They call me Mock. It's an old college roommate thing. It's not actually a Boston accent thing. It's actually a Hans and Franz thing. There was a lot of sort of Mock, you are a girly man at MIT. So that's what that is. Anyway, that's me.
Tim?
Hi, I'm Tim Stelmach. I was one of the designers on the game. Mainly, I did a little bit of the awful UI. Actually, I did the save load buttons and everything, if I remember correctly. But mostly I did level design. If you see any levels that actually, conform to an octagonal footprint, those are coming. I'm sorry, I just totally couldn't resist that after.
I understand.
I'm in the wrong door.
Dorian?
Someone said go lightsaber frenzy on the robot, so I'm gonna go back and do that. Because, it's like Twitch plays Shock.
I assume laser rapier is our lightsaber.
Lightsaber, yes.
What's wrong?
'Cause-
What was wrong with laser épée?
Laser épée. Honestly, when I was a kid, I was in Montreal, and I remember seeing the French word for lightsaber is laser épée. So I might have decided that I might have spoken up and said, "Oh, laser épée is going to be too. What the hell? It's a mutant. Is going to be too controversial."
Dorian, you're...
I'm Dorian Hart. I was primarily level design and gameplay designer. Basically, I designed the least professional looking levels among the levels. Not having been a designer for all that long.
Let's be clear. There was a huge variance between the least professional levels and the most professional levels in this game. He said sarcastically.
And there was only one other...
Let's be even clearer. I was a designer for like 3 months longer than Dorian.
But those were an important 3 months.
Formative experience.
You learned so much.
and then there was one other designer, level designer, is that right? Or was it just...
Eric Ray did some of it.
Eric Ray did some.
Okay.
And Kurt Bickenbach did a great deal of the
Gross, yeah.
Yeah.
groves. He was
Hopefully,
primarily an artist, but he did.
Hopefully
Did
we'll
love-
remember to show the credits this time at some point. And one of the things that you will see in the credits is that designers and artists are listed on the same page in different columns, and Bickenbach's name is the one that spans both columns.
Oh,
He's
yes.
both an artist and a designer. All right, so I'm in this sort of high altitude, kind of trappy area. I'm gonna try and get over to this. Oh, I missed it. Oh, and this gorilla tiger is gonna is gonna ruin my day. All right, I should like heal more maybe or something.
All right, Austin.
Like gorillas, you like tigers.
All right. Yeah. This is Austin Grossman. I did a bunch of early design and story design for the game. That's what I remember doing. Doug and I hashed out a lot of that earlier stuff in some rather contentious meetings, and then I did the. I was a voiceover for Edward Diego.
Did you write any of the dialogue or anything?
No, I didn't. I remember doing some edits when we went to do it for voice recording.
Well, that's a little sad because I attribute all of the dialogue to you, Austin. So, like, someone is not getting credit.
I think it's Dorian. Surely Dorian's not getting credit.
Probably.
No, wait a minute. You know, now I remember. It's a bit hazy. No, I do remember writing some dialogue. But surely not the bulk of it. Surely that's Dorian.
I probably wrote the least professional dialogue.
This level is so unprofessional. It's distracting.
I mean, I think this stream is really a good indication of the level of professionalism that was on display on this particular venture. So, if you are fooled into thinking that we are some kind of awesome we were all, I don't know, we were all in our early 20s when we made this game, so it's not like we knew what we were doing.
My basic design philosophy was I would sit and I would listen to Doug Church talk, and I would try to like absorb as much of what he was saying as I could, and then I would go design something before I forgot what he had said. That's probably the general solution I had to designing levels, because boy did that he knew his stuff. I mean, knows his
stupid
stuff. I assume
robots.
he's still alive.
No, he's still alive.
There's only occasional evidence of the fact.
I was going to say, you wouldn't know it from the...
Well, Doug
frequency
sightings
with-
are rare. I think Bernie hangs out with Doug a bunch, but Doug sightings are rare, it's true. He's at Valve, I'm sure, I think, still, and
He comes to LA sometimes and we get lunch.
that's good. So
Tell
you
him
are the
not to be
guy.
such a stranger.
You are the guy who like makes Doug and Seamus sightings all over the place.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Doug doesn't seem like a very LA person, but he turns out to really like it there. So he comes by and he kind of mentors some LA startups.
Sure.
And complains. It is awesome to hang out with Doug. And I went up to Valve once.
Yeah. Yeah, Valve's a cool place. If it weren't in Seattle, then I might work there. I don't know. If they would let me. I don't know. They said they would let me once. I don't know if that still holds.
Did you save your ticket?
Yeah.
And I should wrap up the introductions. I'm Sean Barrett. My official title in the shot credits is Special
Oh, come
Guest
on!
Programmer.
I gotta learn to heal.
Special Guest Programmer because I did some of the mini games, but I didn't actually work on Shock itself.
So people are asking us what we were doing nowadays. We did go over this in the last stream, but we might as well.
Oh, they can just watch the archive.
Yeah, just watch the archive. No. I am doing research and development for a company called Riot Games, which you may have heard of. My job is going to be to put the S on the end of Riot Games, so that it's not just Riot Game. That's pretty much my thing. Tim, what are you up to?
I am working with a startup called Other Side Entertainment. We have a project in the conceptual stage right now on the Underworld brand. We do not have Ultima, but we do have Underworld. And so hopefully that is going to be something you'll hear more about in the near future. And I am having a ball with that.
shows us any business indeed.
Dorian?
I have, in the more or less recent past, finished up my work on a game called Card Hunter, which is a kind of fusion of card game and board game, but in your browser. It's a fantasy-themed tactical game, but not. I have in the last few months, I guess, I've mostly been working on writing a novel and taking my kids to school.
the job of all writers,
Yes.
pretty much.
So
Oh, I hear doors opening. Oh, and I'm getting shot at.
Austin?
Oh, right. Right. I'm actually working a little bit with Other Side as well. Also with Tim on the Underworld license. I'm doing some writing for Arcane Studios on an unannounced project they did, Dishonored, before, which I worked on with them. Working on a very stealthy startup called Magic Leap, which is in Florida, which is going to be
and I just missed my magic leap.
very, very cool when it is okay to tell people about it. And I just finished writing a novel, and I'm starting another novel. So my third novel, Crooked, about Richard Nixon, will come out next summer. And then, starting writing a new one.
So you were talking a little bit about that novel. It sounds like you said it was Richard Nixon with a little bit of Lovecraftiness.
Yes. I mean, it is the darkness of Richard Nixon taken up a few notches. It is a secret history of what really happened.
So it kind of are you influenced at all by Tim Powers?
I've read Tim Powers. Actually, yes. I mean, I really like the genre of behind the scenes history, right?
Oh.
The secret explanation.
And that was me trying to exploit the long arms of the shock to reach across a chasm to loot some stuff and then not actually succeeding. Oh, I've got too much stuff here.
Right. So the Nixon administration is so bizarrely poorly conducted that there must be another explanation.
Right.
And also for why Henry Kissinger will never die. That is also revealed. So it's a complicated tale.
Sure. So I guess I just jump over there. I don't remember how I get over there.
is it a comedic book, or is it trying to be serious, or is it somewhere in the middle?
I usually start out trying to be serious, but honestly, no, it is kind of funny. I mean, Nixon is the funniest president. Yeah.
Wow, there's a dubious honor. The funniest president. So friends at home, for all that you have screwed up in your lives, remember that you are not the funniest president. I'm trying to get this. No scrape storeroom wall. I'm just trying to get this lined up so I can do it again. Alright, so am I going to jump this way? Oh, this jump looks easier than that jump, but not easy. I'm going to try it with the roller skates.
Just do whatever you did when you played this past week.
Yeah, no, I think I did it this way. No, oh!
So somebody asked this on the chat a long time ago, and it's kind of not relevant now, and I never managed to squeeze it in, which was they asked who did the voices, because that was around when you were playing the audio logs.
Right.
Which, we mentioned last time, but since you couldn't actually hear the audio logs, it probably will be useful to mention again, even the ones we already said.
Right.
So specifically, the obvious one is just the Rebecca,
Right.
the one that you played.
Rebecca Lansing was done by Helen Dunsmore.
And she was a programmer?
She was just a friend of ours.
Oh, that's right. She lived at Decmo. Yeah.
So she might have been at Decmo for a little while. Decmo is short for Deco Murano Anthropolis, which is the House of 10 Dumb Guys, which is a place where, a bunch of us lived. during the early days of Looking Glass, and
Mainly coming out of MIT, where Helen was
Right.
in the same living space as a lot of us.
right. So we were most of us lived on a floor that was called 41st West. And it's called 41st West not because it was the 41st floor, it was the 4th floor. But a decade or two earlier, some druggies who lived there decided it needed to be the highest floor on campus. So they named it 41st West, and the name has stuck. And in fact, 41st West is the reason why the mini pistol is the ML41 mini pistol.
Sure.
And so the story of Looking Glass is really a story about a guy named Paul Shawcross who had a D&D buddy named Mark Sobkowitz, and a bunch of guys.
In fact, Mock is Paul's brother-in-law.
Who's Paul's brother-in-law?
Mark Sobkowitz.
Oh, Mark Sobkowitz.
Mock.
Right.
Mark.
Right. I thought it was yeah. So anyway, so Mark Sobkowitz, and there's this guy named Paul Shawcross and this guy named Mark Sobkowitz. And they were buddies from high school, and one of them lived on 4th West, and one of them... I'm going to pause the game while I tell this story. One of them lived on 4th West, and one of them lived... one of them didn't, but they all got together to play D&D, and Paul invited several people from 4th West. And that got an intro... One of those people was Doug Church, and that got Doug introduced to Mark, who introduced Doug to Paul Neurath, who, when Paul finally was going to form Blue Sky Technologies... that's how the connection got made between Doug and Paul. And Paul ended up hiring Doug. Doug ended up hiring a bunch of other guys on 4th West, who ended up hiring a bunch of other guys on 41st West, including me, including James Fleming, including John Mayera, including Tim. You lived on 4th West for a little while. Dan Schmidt. I don't know if he lived on 4th West, but he definitely hung out there sometimes. And also Helen Dunsmore, who was a friend of ours, who was the voice of Rebecca Lansing. What was the other story I wanted to tell about the long chain of... Oh, Paul Shawcross is a name you may recognize from recent events.
I was going to bring this up.
He
Google,
actually...
this isn't the petition response you're looking for.
Yes. So, in fact, you may remember that there was a petition to the White House to build a Death Star. The guy who wrote that... response was Paul Shawcross, who is the guy who was the missing link between Doug Church and Paul Neurath. So it's a
his
small...
official title, Chief of the Science and Space Branch at the White House.
I just fell off.
So
I posted the link in comments.
Yes. Oh, excellent. And I'm just going to do this jump over. Pretty much, we're just going to be here for a few hours. Our stretch goal was level 7, but really, I think over the course of a couple hours, I think I might get this jump done. So,
set your sights realistically.
Yeah, hunker down, sit tight. We're going to do this jump. Okay, here we go. Roller skates on. Woohoo! All right, I made it.
Sweet.
yeah.
All right, so here we are in
Yeah.
the sweet, sweet treasure room of this.
No one suspected that we were going to spend the entire live stream in this one room, actually.
Yeah. So I'm going to open this door and see some. I'm going to open this door and see that there's some. I can actually.
Have you saved your game recently?
I'm about to right now. All right. I've not saved my game today, really, but now I have. All right. So a couple things are important in this room. One is I get lots of fat loot, and I'm crouching for no good reason. I'm going to pick up all this fat loot. And the other thing that I have here is the plastique that I'm going to need to disable the antenna relays on level 7. I don't need it yet. I know that I'm going to need 4 units of plastique. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab them and I'm going to throw them off the ledge here, and so that they're on the floor, so that when I come back here, I can just grab them off the floor, so I don't have to do any of these jumps again.
Wuss.
Yeah.
Yeah. Monk has no appetite for adventure.
Yeah. I think that I think that our beloved audience has probably had enough of rolling their eyes at me failing jumps for the time being.
Yeah.
Anyway, so and now that the plastique is safely on the floor, look at all that plastique. And of course it's plastique, so we don't actually have to worry about it blowing up in our faces. So the other thing to remind you guys about is that I am using the automatic help, which I have turned on, which points out things that I can use and frob. Turn my shield off and maybe run back and get some more energy, because that's, well, or I could just use a battery. I'm gonna run back and get more energy, because that's the kind of resource-conserving jerk I am.
All right. Well, I guess I'll pull another question from the chat. We might have answered this last time. I don't remember. What games that have been inspired by System Shock do you like the most? Like BioShock, BioShock Infinite, Dead Space, other possibilities not listed there.
I really liked the first BioShock.
Yeah, definitely. Me as well, particularly that one. What else? I played the hell out of Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas, which I would.
Oh yeah, Fallout 3,
count?
Fallout Vegas.
I'm going to count them.
Well, so Fallout 3, of course, was. Oh, and this
They're
is
kind
the
of
door
grim,
that I-
perilous first-person survival adventure games.
And the lead designer on Fallout 3 was, of course, Emil, right?
Yep, Emil Pegler-Rula, who
Worked
got
on
his development start anyway. He was previously in the press because of the conspiracy between the industry and the press.
He worked for Adrenaline Vault, didn't he? Am I remembering that correctly?
Adrenaline Vault. Yep, he was, I think, editor-in-chief at Adrenaline Vault.
Yep.
But came to Looking Glass to work on Thief.
And was a level designer on Thief. And the rest is history. And he's done quite well for himself on games like Fallout. Alright,
I will add Deus Ex to Shock-inspired games.
oh yeah,
Really
absolutely. You know, I really, this may be heretical, but I really prefer the second one.
Really?
Yeah.
I like the second one, which I know not everyone does.
I mean, I know that the unified ammo shenanigans. Oh, come on. Oh, well, I wanted my health back anyway. And this isn't far away. I know that the unified ammo thing was not popular in Shock 2 and in Deus Ex 2. Deus Ex as opposed to Day of Sex.
Yes.
I know that wasn't popular, and that kind of put a damper on it. But one of the things I really liked about 2 versus 1 was, so I feel like in 1 that the sort of factions were like these very abstract archetypes. It was like, stealth versus violence, or something like that, where like the factions, and it was really hard to, it was really hard to really be. To really appease a particular faction. Maybe I'll turn my shield on. How about that? In particular, they couldn't tell the difference between like a stealthy guy, or a violent guy and an incompetent stealthy guy, right? Like you'd do a stealthy thing and you'd sneak up to a guy and you'd screw up and you'd have to like whip out your gun and cap the guy, right? And then the stealthy guy would be like, he wouldn't say, I appreciate that you're trying to be stealthy and sucking. He would say, you're not a stealthy guy, get out of my face. And like, that didn't feel as good. And I think in Deus Ex 2, one of the things that they did was they had the factions be actual factions. Like they were actual groups within the world, and they had agendas, and if you weren't furthering their agenda, like that was just the bottom line. It didn't matter whether you were not furthering their agenda through incompetence or whether you weren't furthering their agenda through, choice. It's like, hey, you're not furthering our agenda. And furthermore, they'd come around and kind of say, and here's how to get back into our good graces, which is really what was one thing I really liked. They would say, all right, you did a bad job in our eyes. And, maybe I should detox this? And I guess I'll just use those medi patches that I just spent my whole.
Easy come, easy go.
Easy come, easy go. Yeah, all right. So I felt like, shoot that camera. I felt like, yeah, Shock. In terms of just what they were trying to do, they did a better job. So this is, I recall, oh look, a flechette, which I already have, so I'm going to unload my flechette and throw it away. Get this new flechette, which who knows, might have some bullets in it. Oh, and it does. Hey, I'm rewarded. Hey, look, an audio log. I'm gonna play an audio log.
Sabo here. Listen, Mac, I've got a plague loose on the exec level.
So somebody wrote,
But I need an environment suit to pull it off.
what are your
What's the code for his
favorite
source so we
games
can pursue
that
it?
weren't in
I
the
only
kind of
remembered it
shock
today.
line of games? Which I
Guardians
guess
of
is to
Star
say Tim-
Control 2.
Yes, Tim correctly remembers the best game of all time.
Well, and we actually need to talk about.
Travis. Sorry,
Yeah.
I'm just calling that out.
So one of the things is, guys, just all right. So the guys on Skype are lagged like you guys are in terms of the feed. So guys, when you hear that I'm going to play an audio log, then maybe that's a time to like listen to audio logs for a little bit. And if you talk over the audio log, we can't hear the audio log, is what I was trying to say. So if you hear me say I'm going to play this audio log, then maybe you can
Give you 30 seconds.
give me a few seconds, yeah, to.
I'm sorry, did you say something, Mark?
Yes, haha, very funny. So yeah, we really need to talk about Star Control 2 because it was a big influence on System Shock, right? I mean, not necessarily in terms of the gameplay per se, but we were all constantly playing it.
Yeah,
in
so
the
it had a big
office.
influence in that it probably delayed the game by a few weeks.
Yeah, net,
playing Super
net, yeah, and we had like a Super Melee ladder, Super Melee ladder on the in the team, and we were all playing it. We were playing it on. I recall we were trying it with our Gravis gamepads at one point.
Melee. You can still play it to this day. It's called the Urquan Masters now.
Yeah.
So.
If you haven't played Star Control 2, that's definitely worth looking for, and it is available in sort of abandonware form as the Urquan Masters, which is really the 3DO version, I think, and it has audio logs, right? It has actually, or not audio logs, but it has speech. I don't remember the version I played having speech, but if you go play the new one, it has speech. I'm gonna save my game.
So, but yeah, Star Control 2 is the best game. If I had to pick a number 2, I'd probably say the Portal games.
Oh, there you go.
In some order, which I'm not sure of.
And the Portal games, I think, there's a little bit of lineage there.
I think it's probably unmistakable. I've never talked to those guys about it, but I mean, come on.
Yeah, I mean, there's GLaDOS versus Shodan stuff floating around. There's even like there was something on Kotaku about. Oh yeah, my daughter has a pony crown and she needs to point it out to me. So if you're hearing stuff over my mic, that's what's going on. So this is a pesky repulsor lift that is alternating, I think, between going up and going down, so you have to kind of time it. Oh, now it's going up. I'm just gonna walk on it.
So we could script that stuff when we wanted to be irritating to the players.
Right, and surely you did.
Well, in order to make up for the fact that my levels aren't octagonal, I decided to put in a lot of annoying repulsor lift puzzles.
Yeah.
It's just not professional.
Why am I so bad? Oh, I have a save game. Why am I so bad at this game? So yes, in case you were wondering, oh wait, I didn't want to save. I wanted to load. Yeah. I'm still looking at the pony crown, sorry. Nice pony crown.
Is your daughter queen of the ponies?
For the time being, I think so.
Possibly princess.
Princess of the ponies, yes. If you ask her, who's your favorite princess? Elsa's your favorite princess right now. Usually the answer is me, but by me I mean her, not daddy.
Right.
Not you.
Yes, but although I might be a popular princess with my daughter.
I can even bring this around in a circle, by the way. Just yesterday, my 9-year-old daughter started playing Portal
Oh yeah?
Wow.
and having a wonderful time in it.
You're bringing her up right.
Yes. Yes.
But what's going to happen when she finds out about the cake? Because that's the right moment in
Yeah.
the child's development.
She is already quite intrigued about the cake because the
Yeah,
cake is
I
mentioned
mean-
a couple of times, and
Yeah.
you see the pictures of it on the wall. She's looking forward to it.
Good luck handling this one.
Forget. Oh, come on. Oh, do I have to push the button? I don't know why I'm failing so hard at this. Yeah. So, one of the things that happened is my favorite League of Legends champion was not LeBlanc. Everyone expects it to be, but it's not. Sorry. It's Veigar, and we just came out with the Riot just came out with the arcade villain, or I guess it's called the final boss Veigar skin, which is a separate costume that Veigar can wear, where he's a video game boss. And all of his voice. What is going on here? I did this before. I don't know. I wonder if I can make that. I'm gonna just die from radiation over and over again if I.
Yeah, pretty much.
And so one of the things that Veigar says is, "All the cake is gone."
That's a lie.
That may be a lie.
Wait, Riot makes League of Legends?
Yeah,
I
that's
just put that together.
that is the game that they do. And I'm gonna die from this radiation poisoning, so I'm gonna use a first aid kit. And I'm back here. And you know what? I'm just gonna mag pulse the crap out of this guy, because who are we kidding? I am terrible, doing terrible, and one of the things that when you do terrible, you just really need to use more of your precious ammo.
Anybody else have any favorite games or games they wanted to bring up in this context?
I want to claim that there's some shock influence in Mass Effect.
Oh, but we're off of the shock influence, right?
Oh.
We're on to
Just favorite games.
No, I'm teasing. I'm kidding.
We can
Go ahead.
Please stay in format, Mark.
Yeah, stay on message. Okay. Yeah.
Mass Effect.
What are people playing lately? Why don't we do that one?
I am playing a lot of Minecraft still. Just like crazy. What else?
I'm playing a lot of Tomb of the Necrodancer, which I cannot recommend.
Oh yeah, how is that?
I love it. It is so much more than the sum of its parts. Its parts being a roguelike and a music rhythm dance game.
Right.
Wow.
But it's
That's a
kind
true
of
genre.
that's the thing. It seems like a stunt, but it really, really works. It's like a sort of real-time sort of time. I mean, it's a sort of time pressure roguelike, and it's a dancing game, and all the tiny monsters are like doing little dances. I'm not selling this at all.
It sells itself.
Check it out. So let me ask you this question: are you playing it? What input device are you playing it with? I'm gonna play.
I'm not. Yes, you actually can use a dance pad, but I'm using a WSD.
All right. I'm gonna play a log.
Sabo, you should know this. Shodan issued recall on all envirosuits for no reason. I stashed a suit in my storage cell where I put the plastique Fosk I'm looking for. The combo is 8. Don't lose it.
Right. So here we got that the combo was 8 scribble, and so we'll find another log where we find out that the combo ends in 8. Oh, I've already been here. Why am I going back here? So we got the loot there.
If I'm not mistaken, that log was voiced by none other than Greg LaPiccolo.
Right, Greg LaPiccolo.
With the face of Carl Muckenhout, who
Yes.
is now working at Telltale Games.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't
Really?
know that.
Yeah.
Oh, and so here we have a very, very important thing. Alright, so I'm just going to save my game and just take this on as it is meant to be taken on, which is to put one's roller skates on and just run like crazy across it, I think.
Let's see. Oh, also in the category of System Shock influence games, I'm gonna make it up to Steve Gaynor for forgetting his name last
Aww.
time. But he, I believe, has said elsewhere that a lot of the environmental approach to storytelling in Gone Home
Nice jump.
owed its philosophy to this stuff. And of course, he had previously worked on Bioshock 2. So
Oh, sure. I did not know that connection.
yeah, so I really enjoyed that game.
I have not played Gone Home. Really need to.
Yeah, it's worth checking out.
So yes, that was the infamous
Yes.
ski jump, and I fell into the death trap and died. So I'm going to do it again. Hopefully I'll get to the...
That one moment makes up for hundreds of hours of my lack of professionalism.
Yeah, I mean, that is... feel free to tell Dorian that is your favorite moment in the game, because it is many people's favorite moments.
Yep.
And batteries and good stuff. And I'm just going to use one right now, because I'm hopefully not coming back here. And now down here is the way out, right? Oh, there's a camera. Better get that. So one of the things I discovered in my replay through of this is the way in which I really want to use my energy for defense on the shield. And so it really discourages me from using energy weapons. Because you want your energy for your shields. Here's a bunch of landmines that are live. And I do not want any part of them. So I'm just going to like see if I can lob a frag grenade down there and get rid of them. Or I can just fail to lob frag grenades, because grenades are really dangerous in this game. They're like hard to use, and they'll kill you.
Unlike grenades in real life.
Unlike grenades in real life, which are just...
Which are not dangerous in the slightest.
Right. And now that I've cleared out those mines, I'm rewarded with some extra battery packs, which I sadly can't use, because I'm full up on stuff. And full up on battery packs, in fact. And John Mayer's severed head, which I'm just saving for later. Maybe I should probably drop that off on level 3 at some point, but it's my precious.
That's right.
Oops.
It would be so lonely in that station if you didn't have that head.
yeah. It's like what's the volleyball from
Wilson?
Castaway? Wilson. Yeah, it's my Wilson. yeah. So yes, I can say, "Hi John, how you doing today?" Yeah, I'm having a lot of trouble at the game. It's really, you're my only friend, Wilson. Oh, this is another. This is another little dungeon room. So yeah, again, this is the dungeon level where it's like a series of discrete encounters with loot on the other side. Ooh, I hate those guys who throw the grenades. I'm trying to give my best lean. Oh, maybe I should crouch. And so one of the things that we mentioned that I said in last time is that I am not playing with the mouse look mod. There are a bunch of excellent mods for this game. And I'm not using any of them because I just wanted to play with the I just wanted to play in the sort of the natural state of the game. But if you are going to go and try and play this game today, I strongly recommend the mouse look mod because it really just makes your experience more modern and more pleasant. It gives you more modern shooter key bindings, and it's just going to make your life happier.
Yeah.
But
So
I am a masochist, and I'm not using it. It may make
Well,
the game a little bit easier. Oh.
In most ways, I mean, so like we saw just moments ago, well, a while ago, like there's a lot of these fights where the terrain is staged, so you're like leaning around corners shooting at guys, and obviously like mouse look relies on your aim reticle being fixed, so you actually have a lot easier time doing those leaning shots when you can mouse your aim out around to the edges of your view as well. But in almost every other way, your experience is going to be better with mouse look. I totally agree.
I would play the combat one level higher than you would, because like if you're starting a new game and you've never played before, I would just go ahead and play on combat level 3, and I mean if you like combat. And so yes, I've cleared out these cyborg warriors, warrior cyborgs. I went and dealt with the little robots. I turned on the switch, moved the force bridge, which lets me walk over there and get the loot. Now let's take a look at the map and see if there's anything we have left to do on this level. Alright, so one of the things I really should do, do a better job of is sweep out the auto map so that I actually know if there's... Alright, so there's a security camera down here that I haven't gotten, and maybe I should make an effort to get that. Oh, right, there's the combination lock. And then let's actually check our security level, which we can do by going to the status hardware. And our security level is 1%, so I have a feeling that if we get that camera... Hey, let's save our game. If we get that camera, that we'll be able to... And there's the ski jump again. We'll be able to... to get through the security door, which is going to be our prize for having cleaned out this level. Let's, oh no, we're going on there. Let's find that. Let's find that. Alright, let's look at that. Yeah, we didn't have GPS in this, so we're going to go down and around the lift, and then we'll go into that area. Okay, I think that I know where that is. Alright. This repulsor lift, which we have to put in the down state so that we can go down. And so this is the door. Oh, double click to open hidden door. This is why you put the online help on, because you get to see all these fun things. By online, again, it's not in the modern sense of being over the internets. It's just online in the sense of being active. Oh, this is a switch puzzle, so I should be able to figure this out. Or not. Tim, do you want to talk about switch puzzles at all?
Oh God. No.
So basically, each switch has two states, right? It has a on state and an off state, and you got to connect the left to the right.
Right. The problem is that you can't control just one switch at a time.
Right. And
any click you execute is also going to affect the surrounding
look
switches.
at all these iCAD batteries. I'm gonna just throw out my regular batteries and pick up these iCADs.
I swear, I'm trying to think of. I mean, I know that there were like existing puzzles that I was referencing when I set that business up, but I'm trying to remember what the prior art was there.
And I know that the rules were basically the different puzzles had different switch rules, and I believe they were all chess pieces, right? Like there were basically bishop switches and
right. There were ones that would have side effects, you know, to the orthogonally adjacent ones that would be the diagonally adjacent ones, like whatever. And so there'd be some experimentation to start off with, like to figure out what the rules of that particular switch puzzle even were.
It won't actually let me play that switch puzzle anymore because I'm too cool. Because I've already solved it. Alright, so here, this is the door that we get logs that tell us the different digits. We know the first one is 8, the second one is 8. The middle one, the first one is 8 and the last one is 8. I don't know if there's a log that tells you the middle one. You can just try all 10. I think it's 838. Here we are. Turn our light on. And yeah, the physics of doors is always a little awkward. Here's a magnum, so I'll unload my magnum. Do the gun dance where you unload your gun and throw it away, and then grab the new gun just in case. I get an Enviro suit, which is nice, which is good. Yeah, we've been told that this is where the Enviro suits are, so you really need to finish this in order to really do the groves. Here's another piece of plastique, and here's, I think, Sabo going to tell us where the rest of the plastique is. No, it's the other guy, McLeod.
Something they love plastique. They're everywhere.
Sabo, by the way, named after Chris Sabo, third baseman for the Cincinnati Reds back in the 80s and 90s.
So it's like his great grandson.
Yes, no doubt.
You know, future history.
Yeah, and in fact, really, Major League Baseball was the fast track to getting placed on the your children and descendants placed on the crew of of Citadel Station. That was really
made sense.
the Citadel hiring HR department really looked for that kind of lineage in their employees, because the MLB builds tri-optimum values, as it turns out.
Also, eye-hand coordination is at a premium.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Especially since you got to play with this user interface.
Not that it helped them any.
Not that it helped them any. Yes. Yes. All right. So now that I've gotten down to 0, I can. Wait, what? I'm missing a camera. Wait, didn't I blow up that camera? Security is still 1%. Oh, fudge. Oh, did I not blow up that camera? Maybe I missed it. There's a camera still on my map.
Apparently not.
Apparently I missed it. And I'm assuming that there are not... that a camera is worth at least 1% of your... Sorry, folks, I messed that up. Am I going the right way?
That would certainly be a best practice when it came to game design, which means that we may or may not have observed it.
Right. Right, so this red dot on my auto map is a camera, because my auto mapper is of a certain level. It's possible that I just took the spark beam on, put the spark beam on, and just shot it once. This is the downside to...
All right, the chat has a lot to say about the camera, I notice.
Oh, yeah. What do we have to say about the camera?
That you didn't kill it, pretty much.
Overkill that camera! Oh, should I overload the spark beam? Should I have overloaded the spark beam on that camera? Yeah.
All right.
So,
Hypothetically.
let's actually go ahead and check our security status. Security 0%! Yay!
No, when you assume, you posit a conclusion based on incomplete evidence.
Yes, when you make an
as
assumption.
They say.
When you make an assumption, you make an ass out of you and
assumptions.
Yes. Alright, so our big prize is the jump jets, which I totally forgotten existed, but yes.
I know, right?
we have a thing that lets you jump as high as you want as long as you have energy. And that will be relevant. That would have been relevant for this whole level! Curse you guys! Alright, so now we are kind of stocked up. Let's see. We've got, I'm just gonna burn my medikits.
Someone asked on the chat, I know, how the intro and the cinematics got made, and using what software.
They were made by art guys.
Doing art things.
Yeah. I'm guessing that they were done in Max, right?
I think they were, actually. I think we're
Max?
definitely a Mac.
Was it even the thing before Max, maybe?
Well, it was 3D. It was called 3D Studio at the time.
Yeah.
But
Or it was even Max, yeah.
before it was even Max, I think sort of Alias, which was the what later became Maya, was sort of a gleam in. I mean, that was SGI that made Alias, right? And that was probably around, but it was super high end. It was like you were making, movies. No one who worked on a video game could afford Alias, right? So.
Yeah, everybody of that era in games used 3DS. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so let's see. I need to get to the 6th level, which means I'm just gonna get my flechette ready. I'm gonna head over to the. Take this freight elevator. I'm gonna head up to the down to the 3rd level, and then we're gonna run to the other elevator, which gets us to the 6th level. And hopefully not encounter too many of Dorian's pesky invisible mutants on the way.
Aha.
And here's the dart gun, which tells me that this is the right elevator. That's my landmark, the dart gun, that I never pick up. Okay. And Oh, so one of the things that we can talk about that I don't think we really have talked about is what music we were listening to while we made this game. And we would be remiss if we did not mention the first Rage Against the Machine album, which was like basically on repeating loop during this game, much to the eye rolls of some of the people at Looking Glass, including probably Dorian.
Yeah, well, the man doesn't want you to listen to Rage Against the Machine.
That's right. That was a really good album, I have to say, even on Infinite Repeat.
I agree. Was this before the era of soul coughing, or was soul coughing?
Here's a trivia question. Yesterday was the 20th anniversary of Ruby Vroom, the first soul coughing album. So in fact, yes, it was before the era of soul coughing, which was a huge earworm for Looking Glass later on in the era. So yeah, Doug and James, I think, went to see Cop Shoot Cop, which is another thing we were listening to a lot of at during System Shock. They went to see Cop Shoot Cop play, and the opening band was these guys called Soul Coughing, and then we put Ruby Vroom on Infinite Loop. If you haven't ever heard of Soul Coughing, you should check it out. Probably the most overlooked album of the 1990s, Ruby Vroom is, I think.
Okay. Sad soul coughing anecdote. I was at this artist colony, and the guy in the room next to my room was Mike Doty.
Oh yeah.
And I didn't realize who it was until the last day.
Oh wow.
And so I was literally like leaving that afternoon, so I wrote him a note saying that he was awesome. Because obviously he's awesome.
There you go.
Although you wouldn't necessarily want to share a bathroom with him.
Okay,
I had a fine musician.
I have already cleared out Alpha Grove, I think, and enabled the jettison, so I'm not going to come back here.
I seem to remember that was also yep, here it is. That was the year that Trouble Gum by Therapy came out.
Yeah, we were listening to a lot of that.
A lot of that album.
Yeah, Dorian likes to affectionately refer to Trouble Gum as Wailing Guys.
And I don't remember if it was on System Shock or before that, but I remember a certain amount of Fetus being listened to.
Oh yes, yeah.
Interrupt the scraping Fetus off the wheel.
I think it was Scraping Fetus off the Wheel. It was Nail was the album that they were listening to, that John Mayer was listening to on Infinite Loop.
Yeah.
It's this band called Fetus, which is James Thorowell, basically.
It is. It's basically just him.
And sort of an industrial punk, I guess you might call it. I don't know. Album. All of his albums have a different band name with the word Fetus in it. And
he eventually settled on just Fetus.
Oh, okay. But,
according to Wikipedia, I have this in front of me because I'm that kind of guy.
Right.
On those rare occasions that I left the office, I would go home and listen to Vaughan Williams and cry.
I seem to recall.
Actually, I did quite like soul coughing. Say.
There's what's not to like. It's the perfect entertainment.
All right, and so instead of trying to convince chat to listen to 20-year-old albums,
so here we are. We've gone to level 6.
I thought they were here to listen to old guys reminisce.
We've gone to. Does chat have questions? How about that?
Oh, there's just a couple ancient ones that I was going to pull, but if you had something to say, we're here.
By all means, we're just talking about musical.
Well, you started to say we're here on level 6 or something. I don't know
we're here on level 6. We're about to. We will eventually figure out. So I would say that this is a place in the game where the call to action is kind of weak. You kind of, you're supposed to get to the bridge, and you're supposed to get to. You might want to go check out those people trapped on the flight. Oh, would we rather go check out the people trapped on the flight deck? Maybe we would. What do you guys think? Votes.
Sure, flight deck.
I think we can still save them.
Sure. Yeah, let's go save them. Sure. Right.
Oh yeah, we can get there in time. This time for sure.
I have a vague notion that my severed head might be there, so let's see if we can rescue me before that happens.
Oh, okay. We're not fatalistic at all.
Do we know who's severing those heads?
Cortex reavers.
Well, the invisible hand of Shodan, right? Ultimately. I don't know why I'm actually carrying around.
I mean, if they're not reaving Cortexes, then I'm gonna feel cheated.
Alright, so the ion beam is just a bigger spark beam, so if I need an energy weapon, I can use that one. I'm gonna save, because save often in this game. Hey, you know, if you're out there in the world and you're the kind of guy who's in the Shock mod community, like a version of Shock Portable that had autosave would be super awesome. Like maybe you could you could dump the whole core of the DOS box or something, you know?
I'm sorry, Mock. I'd love to listen to you, except every time that the Twitch feed switches to you being in an elevator, I just have to listen to the elevator music.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's see. What would we dance to this? Is this a rumba? You could rumba to this, I think. I don't know. I'm not really much of a dancer.
I'm not going to incriminate myself by venturing, I guess.
Oh, look, and I just ion beamed that guy to death, because I had nothing better to do. Oh, look, and the moment I come to the flight deck, I get an email. So let's hear more. From Perovsky.
We're tracking you over security lines. We're still holding, but it's only a matter of time now. We've seen your military implant in action. There's a hardware expert up here who can help you put that thing to use against Showdown. I think it's setting a trap for you. If you can make it up here, we can hold.
All right, so I have an incentive to spark beam this camera. No, I have an incentive to get to the flight deck and find these poor people who are holed up in the flight deck because they have a hardware expert who's going to help me. That looks like it's going to be bad for me, so I'm not going to go there. But I am going to shoot out these cameras because cameras. Oh, and I'm going to go down.
Do we know who did that voice?
I was just trying to
Perovsky?
place it myself.
I don't know. Yeah.
I couldn't hear it, so.
Yeah, I don't know. Here's another one. Travers.
Al, we need to replace the first aid kits in the life pods for Flight Bs 2 and 3. Oh, and run a diagnostic on the jettison controls.
So that was the voice of Zimu.
Rob
Pretty
Fermier.
Sure. Yeah, Rob Fermier, who I hear sounds a lot like me, actually. But clearly is a better voice actor. And also the image of Eric Ray, who sadly is someone who we'd have to put on our memorial wall, right?
Yeah, 2008.
2008. He got hit by a car, I think, right?
Yeah, and he didn't die immediately, but eventually complications.
That's awful.
Yeah. Yeah, Eric Ray, while you're adding to your list of things to explore, of media to explore from 10 years or 20 years ago, Eric Ray did awesome. Really, the reason why we hired him is because of this awesome radio play he did called
Lambda Expressway.
Lambda Expressway. And
Oh man.
if
Bravo! I have an
and also yes,
Someone should just
salve ointment can assuage.
someone should remaster Lambda Expressway as a podcast. I mean,
yeah.
it kind
Well,
of
you can find it on
happened before
Sean's
time.
site, right? Sean, it's on your.
Yeah,
site.
I'm now the one of the main mirrors of it because who knows what happened to his site. So yeah, it's on my front page. Couple things down. I also heartily recommend it. That's why I host it. It was something he did in college, and just kind of amazing.
And there are some rough edges on it. You know, it's not,
Absolutely.
It's not like
It's a hobbyist work of love, clearly.
right. And it's quite something. A little dated now, given how technology has gone and stuff. It references things that. And I have the wrong weapon for this fight. I'm picking still the wrong weapon for this fight, but it's a better weapon than that one. All right. And I gotta remember that the tab key cycles between weapons, so that would be a good way for me to go. And in fact, if I were clever, I would put my spark beam somewhere adjacent to an actually relevant weapon. Oops. So that if I'm on my spark beam, I can just tab away and And you know what? I'm going to save my game with that setting. Alright, so we're going to look for these guys. I think this is sort of... this is an opportunity to hear a lot of audio logs. This is kind of a museum level, I feel like. I'm playing an audio log.
We're all still reeling from the disaster 2 days ago. I checked out the defense system, but there's not a thing wrong with it. Well, unless you count that it fired on our own shuttle. I'm taking it offline today.
Yeah, the Cortex Reaver's secondary weapon someone was asking about. Like, it's there. It's just really long range, so they never actually use it. And so, yeah, it's really hard to get them to use their secondary weapon, which is this nasty grenade launcher thing. If you, I guess people who have done mods have, you know, put a Cortex Reaver on the flight deck and fought against it, and it's pretty nasty. One of the things while I'm talking is I wanted to give a shout out to Toxic Frog, who's a member of the mod community who has done the really, really awesome searchable, toggleable maps. And I assume he did it by making an app that actually scans the level files, because it's clear that you can see traps and triggers and things that are invisible in the map. And so if you ever are finding yourself playing System Shock and need some map love, I would definitely recommend Toxic Frog's maps. And if there's anyone in the mod community you think I should give a shout out to, just let me know, because, like, you guys deserve all the shout outs, because you guys are awesome. I'm, like, getting... So, one of the interesting things about the combat is that, just in terms of the technical implementation of the combat, is some of the weapons, particularly the energy weapons, some of the weapons create actual projectiles, like the mag pulse, right? Here, I'll shoot the mag pulse. I'll waste my precious mag pulse ammo, demonstrating that it creates an actual projectile in the world, right? And that flies around through physics, and it collides with whatever it collides with. Yay, energy. And some of the stuff in the world, I don't know if they're... I think the guns work through a raycast through the world. I could be mistaken. So we're just walking the terrain database and seeing what the, you know, what your ray is going to hit. And then some of the weapons, like the energy weapons, so this is what? This is an assault rifle. Well, I think I've pretty much established that I'm not going to use any energy weapons, so I'm going to throw out my ion beam and take the assault rifle. Some of the energy weapons actually work in screen space. They actually do a... This energy thing, how disappointing, is blocked by Showdown security. So I gotta get the security level down so I can use that lovely energy station. So they actually work in screen space. They work by doing basically, whenever you click, we do a second render of the screen in low res. And hey, I have my mag pulse selected to shoot the security bot. Yeah, we do a second whole render. And that second render is not with the regular textures. It's basically every texture is done in kind of a paint by numbers form. So, like, if you, you know, if you're object number 1, you'll just paint the number 1 into that pixel. And if you're object number 2, you'll paint the number 2 into that pixel. And if you're object number 3, you know, and we could render, you know, if you're terrain, I think the terrain, each texture, each unique kind of texture was an object, so that we could see what you were... in the cases where we wanted to click on something. So we do this off-screen render, and then we'd like scan through that render. We'd scan through the back buffer of that render and look for the object that you clicked on. We would even kind of look a few pixels around, spiral around, to make sure that we weren't getting anything, missing anything interesting, because we prefer you click on something interesting as opposed to something uninteresting. And that's how that all worked. And the same off-screen render system is what is used by this online help system that is pointing the security camera out. So we're actually every frame doing a second render of the screen at really low res, because we were fill rate bound in this kind of paint by numbers. And then we were just scanning that for interesting stuff.
That's frightening. I had no idea that's how that was.
Yeah, that's how that works. And and we did turn it off when you walk out the first room because that it's a frame rate hit. Obviously, in my DOS box, which is cranked up to the bestest 486 money could buy in 1990 something, it didn't matter. But so you can just turn it on.
Although maybe that's why you can't run in K/768, but
yeah, maybe. I'm not running in K/768 because I did notice the frame rate was a little bit low.
Go ahead.
I don't know where the bottleneck was, so I didn't bother to debug it because the show must go on.
So then, did you think the projectiles didn't use that system? They used a raycast through the train?
Yeah, I think that they did maybe use a raycast. I could be wrong, but definitely there's a different feel to them. Like the projectiles feel like they're more susceptible to rain, and the beams feel like I could be wrong about that. I could be wrong. We'd have to, maybe someone actually who's done Raycaster for the week, Rigorous says. I think the beam weapons do have a different feel, that they feel like they're infinitely thin and they can go around arbitrary terrain, whereas the projectiles feel like they're going to get blocked by corners and stuff. And definitely, even in the case of projectiles, we definitely did all kinds of stuff where your object had a different size for collision checks versus different objects. Like, a mag pulse was like a giant beach ball, when you were colliding against a monster, but it was like a tiny pebble when you were colliding against terrain, because you know what, we want you to hit monsters. Hitting monsters is fun and hitting terrain is not. So we didn't want to let you outright cheat, but so I just got a log I wanted to play. Let's see, we're on level 5, right? Alright, I just got a log.
For some reason, the cyborgs are patrolling the access corridors around Flight Bay 4. What are they guarding there, anyhow?
I honestly don't recognize the face or the voice there. I don't know if you guys can help me out. Oh, yeah, that's a good idea, Mark. Hack the door in plain view of the door so that the security bot on the other side can just shoot you. This is like... I am like winning a Darwin Award in this... this game... And so there's there's a tendency in this game to really want to try and use just the barely adequate weapon for your fight, right? Because you want to save the best stuff for for other fights that it's barely adequate for. You know what?
Right.
And there's that's an avian mutant. I was just trying to figure out what that was. And so one of the things I think that we didn't do correctly, technically, is I'm not sure that we did this right or wrong, but whenever you shoot with like a rapid fire weapon, it says minor damage because we're really just showing you the per event damage as opposed to like the DPS. Like DPS wasn't a popular idea in gaming back when shock was around, so. And so this is an Autobomb. Oh, and I was in range of it. Curse it. Curse you, Autobomb. And I still don't have... So I'm going to save my game. I still don't have the regen on this level, so I'm going to make sure that I don't try not to die. Let's see. All right, so I'm going to...
Make sure that you don't try not to die?
Sorry.
I'm still parsing that.
Make sure that I try not to die. And
do good things, not bad.
Smart things, not dumb. I'm going to make sure that I do good things, not bad, and smart things, not dumb, if I can. Oh, and you know what? The other thing that we forgot to mention is, like, between last week and this week, Citadel got announced. I assume you guys saw Citadel, right?
Wait,
Nope.
What got announced?
So there is a fan remake of System Shock in the works. It's called Citadel. You know what? And you guys can.
Why wasn't I briefed?
You guys can. It was mentioned on a bunch of places like Rock Paper Shotgun and the same Rock Paper Shotgun that mentions this stream also mentions the Citadel Shock remake. I think it's being done in a variant of the Quake engine, and I think they're promising something for the end of the year. Is that right? Are you here, Mr. Citadel? I forget the guy's name who's doing it, and I wish if one of you guys can look it up, that would be great, so that we can shout out their name on this stream, because like that's awesome. And he talks about how he played System Shock when he was first introduced to System Shock when he was 4 years old, and that it's one of his favorites. And now we all feel old. Thank you very much, Mr. 4-year-old guy.
Daddy, save the severed head.
Yeah, I mean, I won't. Yeah, I'm gonna question a little bit the parenting judgment of whoever showed you System Shock at age 4, but
we're grateful anyway.
But we're grateful anyway. And yeah, it's a fan remake that's being done. It looks like it's being done with original textures. I honestly don't know how this is all going to go down legally, and I wish you the best of luck in that.
Yeah, I was going to say, are they wealthy and can we sue them in some way?
You know what? We can't, and why the fuck would we, right? I mean, that is...
Obviously,
no one will be able to figure out who is supposed to sue them, and so nobody will.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this is kind of like the whole John Constantine thing, where he, there's a plot in Hellblazer where he tricks 3 different demons into thinking they own his soul, so that they let him live forever because they can't agree on who gets him when he dies.
And none of them
I'm going to sue for the right
one of the other
decision.
winning, right? So.
Now I have cyborg conversion, which means I should save my game.
Yeah, the world is your oyster.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's a cyborg oyster, though.
Yeah, and we got a little taunt from Showdown saying that we're not welcomed here, so I'm gonna just reload my mag pulse and see what's around this corner, because I have a feeling that is an ambush. Oh, no ambush that direction. How about this direction? You can lean way far out in this game. Like, clearly, like, not only that, but, we should show off at some point your depleted uranium shoes that you're obviously wearing, because, like, no matter how far out you lean, your center of mass is clearly still on your feet, And these are the escape pods.
Non-emergency.
Oh, but it's not an emergency, so I can't. Thanks for telling me, Mister. And one of the things.
Emergency detection software.
Yeah, it fucking sucks. I hope my daughter is napping right now, because I'm gonna have some more f-bombs. So one of the things that I had forgotten is
pods disabled.
This
non-emergency. Life pods disabled.
Awesome deck talk era speech synthesis, which was, I think, dated even for 1994. Right? I remember working with that kind of tech in as in high school. On they used to have this Digital, which used to be this company that made computers, had this like box you could buy. It was like a standalone speech synth, and it was bigger than like a modern laptop. Like, it was all it did was do speech synthesis. It didn't even have a speaker on it. You had to hook it up to speakers, and it sounded exactly like that. That was state of the art in mid '80s. And I remember I was an intern at the Computer Museum in Boston as a teenager, and I got to work with all kinds of fun things. Including I got to program a Mitsubishi MoveMaster 5000 industrial robot arm, and I got to program deck talks and all kinds of interesting stuff for the Computer Museum, which is now basically the Computer History Museum, what's left of it. Totally irrelevant System Shock story about the Computer Museum. So the Computer Museum closed, and basically the historical parts of it got moved to the Computer History Museum, which is out here in the Bay Area. I went to the Computer History Museum recently, a year or two ago, and my funny experience there was that, they have this room full of old computers, right? And, you can just walk through, look at all these old giant computers, it was giant, and it was, slower than your phone, and it cost $1 million, kinds of stuff. And one of the computers there was a digital VAX 11780, which was a mainframe computer. That was, it was powered off. It was on display as, one of those fossil computers you can look at in the history of computers. And the thing about that is that when I was an intern at the computer museum, that was the actual mainframe that ran the museum. So, the actual computer that the museum used to, do its business was now a museum
piece itself, basically.
Yeah, itself, yeah. So, that's my little anecdote about the computer museum.
About mortality, basically.
Yeah, about how freaking old I am. So, full disclosure, other anniversaries, I am turning 45. So,
Happy birthday!
That's another thing that's going on, yeah.
It's not so bad, really.
It's not so bad, I'm sure.
I've been 45 for 3 months, so I'm not dead yet.
There you go. Sean's been 45, I'm sure, for quite a while.
Yeah, well, you can't actually be 45 for longer than a year, it turns out. So.
No matter how hard you try.
So that was me using my jump jets to get up here because I'm super lazy. And that cost me pretty much all of my energy, which was probably unwise, but I'm going to pop an iCAD and see what we can do here. This is, I feel like, one of the few games that actually has light switches. I mean, I think even today... Oh yeah, I just got back up to where I was. I should have checked my map before I did that, but...
Gone Home has light switches.
There you go, so...
Yeah.
Behold the influence.
No, I remember how snooty we were, and in fact I still am this snooty about the fact that our game had switches you could turn both ways.
Right. Right. It
They
wasn't
weren't
just
meant to be just flipped once and solve whatever puzzle was the one you were working on, right? They did things.
I mean, we certainly do have switches like that only flip once, but we also have light switches which you can turn on and off, and we have repulsor lift switches which change the polarity of the repulsor lift, and sometimes that's relevant.
Just to turn off things that you probably would rather have left on, and if you just assume that anything you run into is meant to be used, then.
Well, Harvey Smith has a repulsor lift, has a story about that, where one of his favorite sort of emergent gameplay moments in this game was, he's doing his thing. He's at some place. He's looting some crates or something at the top of, near the top of a repulsor lift, and an invisible mutant, wanders onto the repulsor lift and is come up the top of the repulsor lift and is attacking him now. And so his reaction was to flip the switch on the repulsor lift and have the invincible mutant go back down. So that was just a cool emergent moment, and that was kind of our goal. Was to have these something opened up. To have these sort of cool emergent moments. I'm gonna kill this guy with my Teflon, I think.
Question of what movies had the most influence on System Shock? Obviously, the Alien movies.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like to think there's a little Outland in here, but that just might be me. We mentioned that one. What else?
Let's see. Last week we mentioned Silent Running for the aesthetic of the.
Oh yeah, for the whole little plot of jettisoning the Grove. Silent Running. Yeah,
the groves.
And as you go through this game, and you realize what a melting pot or mishmash of science fiction tropes it is, you really have to ask the question, what movies weren't we influenced by?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we've got Spark Beam, which is our phaser, we've got a lightsaber, we've got all the stuff, right? We've got I'm gonna run.
Yeah.
What else do we got?
And of course, 2001 was a seminal movie in the history of conflict with insane AIs.
Oh yes, of course, yes.
Tron certainly.
Sure, for the cyberspace, if nothing else. Obviously there were, Max Headroom, which is not a movie, but obviously there was some Max Headroom in Shodan and other things. All right, I'm gonna try and use an EMP grenade here. I didn't get it. And then we can see the screen roll effect that the EMP grenade does, which was a kind of a cool effect for the time, and very super cheap because all you have to do is like change. I think all you have to do is like change like what the address of the back buffer is, and just move it to the next scan line over and over and over again, and you get over time, and you get this screen roll effect that's super cheap and kind of fun. Oh, I don't have battery rack. I need medi. I'm gonna save. I really want to get into the CPU room. I'm just gonna mag pulse at this point.
All right, another chat question. Do you guys remember any interesting bugs or, exciting or funny or challenging?
The one that still sticks with me is, and I use this term today when it occurs in other games that I work on, is what we call the interpretive dance bug. And that would be the case where you open your save game and are saving your game, and every character that you typed would get interpreted as a keyboard movement command. So as you typed S, you would move a little bit. W would go a little bit forward. A you'd go a little bit backwards if you're on WASD. And so as you're typing your save game name, your guy would like jerk around and shoot your gun and like do stuff, right? Like he was doing a little interpretive dance to your save game name. So we used to call that the interpretive dance bug. And so pretty much any time I have a bug where, like in any game that I'm working on, where basically the same input stream is doing two different things, I refer to that as a interpretive dance bug to this day. I feel like the funny bug stories. You guys have funny bug stories from Shock?
Whew. Trying to remember any.
I think the funny bug stories are from Thief. Like I remember a bunch of those, right?
Oh yes, there were some really good ones on Thief. What was it? The one about like the dead guy hearing his own cries of distress and. Well, no,
it was the dead guy seeing his own corpse and calling for help.
Right.
That was probably the funniest one. There was another one where there's the guy who's making hammers.
I was just thinking of the guy who we had the script running where in the prison level, the guy was like repeatedly making these hammers because that's what they did.
Because he's a hammerite and he makes hammers.
And we couldn't figure out at first like this alarm was being raised, and it turned out that the metal on metal clanking noise that every hammer made when it was crafted would be freaking these guys out because it sounded like the clash of arms, right?
Right. Yeah, he would
tagged.
He would open the mold. The hammer would fall out of the mold and hit the ground. He would hear the sound of metal hitting stone and assumed that a fight was happening somewhere, and he would like rush off to find the fight.
Sounds like someone hit something with a hammer.
Yeah. And there was another related bug. Is that there was another bug in that that little sequence with the hammer making guy where he would slavishly follow his hammer making script. Step 1, step 2, step 3. And so if you went and messed with the hammer making machine so that and it was ahead of him, he just got stuck. Whereas he'd be like, open the mold to take the hammer out. Open the mold to take the hammer out. And he would just never get further in the hammer making. So we had to change it to be from a stateful script to a stateless script, where he would be like, look at the machine and see what state it's in. Oh, I see, it's in the state where I have to open the lever. Now, open the lever. I should turn my shield on for this. I should save my game. It's like 2:30 my time. Oh, we're not doing
Yeah.
too bad.
Yeah.
We're not doing too bad. So, oh, gray. So gray is the code for the folks who are who I'm trying to find. And this is Cyborg Convergent. So, in fact, I just took a big long loop. Gray is the code for the folks on the flight deck that we are looking for. And someone who's like played through this game like infinitely is like, oh my god, I can't believe you just took the long way around to this. So that was we got an audio log that said look for the code gray, because that's where we are holed up. And there's a bad guy down there. And I'm gonna try and throw a grenade at him. It's gonna end badly. And the grenade falls on the repulsor lift.
Comes back up.
No, hopefully it won't come back up this one, but
It'll miss you.
was that grenade lie? Did I actually activate it?
It's like a dumbwaiter for grenades.
Yeah. Yeah, so let's see. I want to detonate that grenade now, so see if I can find it. Because I really don't want that grenade waiting for me later. Alright, I'm just gonna try and make this jump and see if I can. I have no health, so I'm gonna. But I'm right next to the regen, so there's no point in me doing anything other than just jumping to my peril. Bonsai! Oh, that was an avian mutant, and I didn't make it. Oh, and there's a grenade here. Alright. Yeah, and the help is helpfully telling me to pick it up, which I will refuse to do.
There's no one to blame but you.
Yeah, because I wrote the help. And I think I got it. The bad guy. All right, so I'm gonna try and get onto this ledge again.
We're getting some chat questions about System Shock 2. Who worked on System Shock 2? Dorian, did you work on that?
I did.
You worked on that. Yeah.
I did.
Can you say anything? I've always been curious about that process, like what you guys talked about, what worked and what didn't. Like, what features did you think were the most
So
important?
you were an irrational employee, right, Dorian? Like
I
during
was
that time?
I was a Looking Glass employee who was, for a time, loaned to the Irrational team.
Oh, okay. So you weren't.
You weren't
one of the
separate from
original.
you were an irrational employee.
I became an Irrational employee pretty much the moment Looking Glass imploded upon itself. But when I worked on, yes, when it imploded for all the various reasons that it imploded. But no, when I worked on Shock 2, I was on interlibrary loan. And the Irrational's office was actually a room in the Looking Glass building.
I'm
Right.
it's too late.
When they made System Shock 2, so they could hop right down the hall to actually talk to the tech team.
And this is
worked on the other thing.
Shodan telling us that it's too late to save our friends. I'm gonna just go ahead and mag pulse this guy. It's Cortex Reaver. So this is like one of the big baddies, and unfortunately, like his best weapon is a weapon that we never let him use because he's always in these confined spaces. But so that was probably an error in planning on our part. And so, and really I just didn't have the health, so I just there was no point in me trying to heal because I'm just so close to this fight that from the regen that. Yeah, I was also for a brief time on loan to System Shock 2 as technical support. I was one of the authors of the Dark Engine, which was the engine used for Thief and System Shock. And I was not a graphical guy, really. I was more of a gameplay systems. I did the technical work for this system called Act React, which is a crazy thing that allows you in data to create generators of game phenomena called stimuli and have objects to respond to it in sort of a plug and play way. Some of you guys in the Thief mod community are probably quite familiar with Act React, which was Ken Levine's idea. Not necessarily my implementation of it, but his original thing was just this idea of, having lots of interactions between things. And you can see this all through the shocks, right, in Bioshock and stuff. Like, being able to do things like, and we never really totally, I don't know if we got there in the Bioshocks, but, one of the canonical examples was like being able to like walk through a puddle of oil and then set your footprints on fire, kind of thing. And like, make a trail of fire that you could get someone with. EMP, someone's saying. That's a good idea. Thank you.
Yeah, so on System Shock 2, my main
Good
job
call.
was the,
Good call, Internet.
was the game balance on all the numbers. So I spent most of my time playing with spreadsheets, which actually turned out to be pretty much how the whole second half of my game design career went. I got to play with I played with Microsoft Excel a lot, and during the development
that maybe we could have benefited with a little more of on Shock, the original.
But I know in Shock 2 there was a very, very heavy emphasis on resource scarcity and trying to keep the player right on the cutting edge of death for as large a portion of the game as was possible. There's obviously a tricky line to walk because you have really no margin for error on one side of that line. And we spent a long time dealing with death spirals, trying to avoid them.
Right. So here is probably the fate of the folks who were here.
I wonder if you'll hear this, Hacker. Albert Royston and I were the only ones who survived the last attack. We hid. Shudder has another plan. It's going to load itself into Earth's computer net. We will be dead in another minute. We can't let them take us. Al, are you ready? It's cutting through the door now. Almost done. It's opening.
So Shodan is going to load itself into Earth's computer net, quote unquote, whatever that turns out to be in the future. So because we are doing this rendering thing with the automated help, where we're actually rendering off screen and looking at pixels, if there's any little rendering bug where a little pixel leaks through the terrain that you can see, and that's a super interesting thing. Occasionally, like, it'll just point out things that aren't there because they're elsewhere on the level, or they're and they've leaked through new rendering. All right, so this is a kind of a weird, questionable design choice, I think, in retrospect. I noticed this when I did my I'm going to save the game here. When I did my last playthrough this week. Is that this is like a one-way repulsor lift, and I don't know that there's any way back from here. Like, in order to... I don't think there's a switch that reverses it, so in order to actually get back down to that level, I have to go through the whole gray jumping, repulsor lift jumping puzzle. And do that whole rigmarole again, which was...
You sound like you don't like gameplay.
Yes, I am a gameplay hater. So one of the things, I think modern games do you a lot. Oh, there's an audio log down there. Maybe I want that. Let's see. Let's look at the map and see how hard is it to get back up here from down there. It's probably not too hard.
That is a large room for System Shock.
Yeah.
I have to say.
You do have jump things.
I do have jump jet. I don't have a lot of energy right now, so yeah, I could jump jet over. Yeah, and this is like actually a start. This is like a room. No, I guess it isn't a room I've been in before. Let's just go. I'm just gonna go get the audio log and just find my way back, and then I'm gonna make good use of the jump jets later. And let's listen to it.
Don Travers had me examining defense relays all morning. Seems there was a signal from Shodan.
So I see the text chat is asking what the sound library was that we used in System Shock, and in fact it was AIL, as it was known at the time, which was the John Miles sound library, the descendant of which lives to this day as part of Rad Game Tools.
As the Miles sound system.
Yep.
Yeah. So, and in fact, John Miles has an audio credit in this game. So, yes. In fact, we were using the very, 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 very early version of the Miles sound system.
That's either my head or Tim's head.
Right. Oh, where?
Over by space.
Oh, yeah. That looks like Dorian's head. Yeah. It might be Doug's head, actually. I don't know. Doug had long hair back then, and had hair at all back then. Alright, so this is a repulsor lift puzzle, where you can, if you do it right, you can...
It's notable because Underworld had similar things, but in Underworld you couldn't see what you were doing. You generally had to turn your back on whatever you were doing.
Well, I mean, an interesting thing about this game is, like, there's no guarantee you're actually going to be looking that way, right? Like, and I actually wanted to talk about this. Like, in a modern game, and this is some kind of combination puzzle, I think I don't just flip all the switches. Let's flip all the switches. Right. I'm just going to cheat through this with the jump jets, so... You know, whatever. But, you know, if you're looking this way and playing with these things, you're not going to see those repulsor lifts, or if you're looking down or whatever, you're not going to see those repulsor lifts move, right? And in a modern game, if I were playing a modern game and I saw that, I would be, like, totally rolling my eyes, right? You know, because the standard today is that you know, you go to Letterbox or whatever, Zelda style, you would go to Letterbox or something and show, you know, a little cinematic of, oh, an autobomb blowing me to hell. And, I'm going to use one of my iCads, I think.
Sure.
It's not even...
counterpoint, though, like, is this, that's not even on the critical path to, like, doing the game, though, right?
It may not be, but, like, in general, like, there are plenty of things on the like, in this game, if you push a button and the button does something, there's no guarantee that you're actually, like, we tried to do that only through level design, right? Like, if we didn't have, like, the, you know, pause gameplay, go to a cinematic, show you the door opening, show you the consequences of your actions thing, which is just de rigueur for any game like this in the modern day. And I gotta say, you know, and I think in the modern day, like I said, if I had seen a game do this today, I'd be totally rolling my eyes at it. But coming back and playing this now, I think there's something about it that sort of, like, I realize how much that breaks immersion, like, go into that cinematic.
I mean, I think that kind of stuff is overused. I mean, obviously, like, if it's something that players need to know in order to proceed, you know, I'll assess it differently. But in general, like, there's a lot of stuff where I'd rather give the player, like, the continuity of freedom of control than squeeze the extra 10 or 20% of like players who see my little thing, you know?
Right.
If I think 80% of everybody's going to see my baby, then, you know, I'm happy.
Sure. Yeah, and you know, like, if it were a Zelda game, no question. Like, we'd show you the door opening, right? I'm gonna start this audio log. I don't think it's super important.
Light Bay maintenance personnel. We have a serious emergency. Yesterday, the defense system fired without executive control and blew a Triumph shuttle right out of the hangar. I want a complete diagnostic on the computer node in the South Repair Center. If you find anything funny, take it offline.
Alright, so that was Zimu telling us that yesterday, the security system fired, you know, without executive control, and shot a shuttle. We're going to later learn about what that was. We're going to learn that was, like, Diego shooting the investigators, I think, that were come to investigating his crimes. And he did that, and he was able to do that because someone unlocked Shodan and allowed him to override, to do that without, quote-unquote, executive control. So this is a nice little stash of health and EMP grenades and landmines. And yeah, so in terms of, like, the, you know, the immersion thing, it's I really am finding it quite charming that, like, part of the game, it feels like, you know, the station isn't doing you any favors. You know, this station isn't gonna, you know, and part of it is, like, employing the scientific method to make sure that you understand what that switch did. You know, and a lot of the time the switch will do will be redoable, so you can actually do the experiments. Let's see. I think. Oh no, I'm kind of low, so I'm just gonna mag pulse him. Yeah. So I feel like today, like if you saw that in the game, it would be like an indie game, and it would be on Steam, and like that would be the whole point of the game. Like the game, there would be a game on Steam called "What Does That Switch Do?" Right? And you'd, hey, look, I have a level 2 shield. This is a blaster, the ER90 blaster. ER named after Eric Ray, right? So let's see. Do I want to upgrade my spark beam? I use energy so little. Now, I got a request offline from Nick Carter, who was one of the playtesters, and also a resident of 4th West, 41st West, and also resident of
He was in that D&D campaign that all of this network came
Alright,
from.
so the blaster is just yet another beam weapon. Somewhere there's a weapon, and I forget where it is, and I don't think I found it in my playthrough. That's a bouncing energy weapon, I think, that actually makes a projectile that can bounce off walls. And he kind of requested that I show that off. But I'm gonna upgrade, just use this as a spark beam upgrade. And this is clearly not it, but if someone, hey, maybe one of you is with the internets can look that up, and I didn't have time to do that in my preparation, and I just assumed in my playthrough that I'd find it, and I didn't.
We'll see if chat knows.
Chat may know, or I bet the internet will know. Alright. I missed a med patch.
So, yeah, so that discussion
The
reminded me...
XX plasma rifle on deck 8, they say. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry for cutting you off there, Sean.
No problem. Deck 8,
Go ahead.
yeah.
Well, we may or may not get to deck 8. Like I said, my goal for today is to jettison the Grove. Hopefully we'll get a little bit further. I feel like we're a little bit ahead of schedule. I don't know. Not for a speed run, but for a guided tour.
Right.
Okay, so
Are you implying that today we're not finishing?
we might not finish today, is what I'm saying. Finishing is a stretch goal, but it may depend on back when we made this game, we were all like 20-somethings with no lives, and now we have, families and stuff who kind of expect things of us. Ooh, I hear the creepy sound of a zero-G mutant. I'm gonna get my flechette ready for that.
Oh man, I love the chandeliers.
Yeah.
In space.
So yeah, the
makes so much
chandeliers
sense.
and the carpeting, and like we really get a sense of like we're going to see a lot more of this on the exec level, and I feel like this is sort of like we're really trying to like sell Diego's personality as being sort of this megalomaniac who wants to build this little fiefdom on.
Oh yeah, I mean a carpeted space station with chandeliers is ridiculously ostentatious.
And I guess that's a little bit of the part of the Outland. It kind of reminds me of the antagonist from Outland, who's this guy who runs the mining station on Io. That I don't know if any of you saw Outland. It's one of my favorite kind of science fiction B movies. It's got Sean Connery in it, I think.
Is that the one that's basically High Noon in space?
It's High Noon in space, yeah, absolutely. Okay. And yeah, this is sort of like we're really selling Edward Diego as wanting all this opulence and feeling worthy of it with the space.
Did we ever touch on the question of induced gravity and system shock? Like,
well, the space station does rotate, but it rotates the wrong way, right? It rotates.
Yeah.
Right.
The fact
So
that
we
the
can
bodies
actually
are all
look.
sliding towards the.
We can actually look out the wall, and we can slowly watch the stars move to the right. Right. You can slowly.
that would be all, you could just walk around the periphery picking up ammunition and grenades, because that's just where they all went.
Yeah. It's centripetal force is what.
Yeah. No, clearly the floors must have like whatever is doing the gravity control in those station has to be made of it on some level.
Yeah. Yeah,
the stars rotating is my one real contribution to System Shock. Not them rotating, because James did that, but I anti-aliased them in the high-res mode, so they're looking way better.
Right.
Oh, right, because they were originally just like single points.
Yeah.
And so they would kind of flicker in and out.
They still do in 320 by 200 mode, but in the higher reses.
But in the higher reses, you anti-alias them. And we already told the story about those. In the last stream, we told the story about those getting into the game at all.
Yeah.
At the last minute, yeah.
Are we on level 5 or level 6? I don't even remember. I think we're on level 5 still, right?
Oh, after feature lock, we're going to add this whole new render mode for the stars.
Right.
That would be awesome if that were actually on the schedule. Just like feature lock. And let's put a few programmer hours.
Right. That's not what I wanted. Zoom is counterintuitively the thing you push to get top-down view. Okay, so I'm going to reload.
All right, so yeah, I wanted to talk about the Perovsky, or whatever her name was.
Sure.
So there's just this interesting sort of interaction between technology and game design that you chart through Underworld, System Shock 2, Bioshock, even to Bioshock Infinite, which is that in Underworld there were friendly NPCs and you had conversations with them. And then in System Shock, you are teased in one point with an alive friendly, but they don't actually exist in the game because that would have been a technological challenge. And so it was like this little dirty trick to get the feeling of that. If you believed it, if you don't see through what's going on. And then in System Shock 2, there's the characters who you see behind a wall, behind a glass window or whatever.
Yep.
I don't remember their names.
Tommy and Rebecca, I think?
Yeah.
Right. So you can never actually test their reality. Basically.
Exactly. You can't really interact with them. They're, it's effectively a cutscene.
You could, I seem to recall, like, the door is closing as you get to it, and you can't get under it to get to them. And so really what that game needed was 3 states of crouch, because if only you could get under that. Do you have more to say, Sean?
Well, and so then
I'm going to take a
Bioshock...
bio. I'm going to take a bio.
You're taking... Oh, yeah. So then Bioshock, I didn't actually play through, so I don't know how some of the stuff there is handled with the characters you encounter that don't try to kill you. Are there some? Not counting the little sisters, obviously.
No, it's the same set of tricks. Pretty much exactly.
Yeah, it's similar to Shock 2 in that regard.
And then with Bioshock Infinite, they finally say, okay, here you can have actual characters who don't try to kill you. And it's just interesting to see that arc because it started with the NPCs you could have the conversation with that Doug and the company, I don't know who, decided was too not immersive and wanted to go with the logs instead.
Yeah. So of course in Bioshock Infinite, the scenario is such that first you're there under this deep cover, and so you're supposed to not really engage with people, and there's this fictional reason for you to not just go approaching people, right? And then shortly thereafter, there's an emergency situation going on where no one is inclined to talk to you anyway, right? So they
well, and of course that's the whole point, is they're nowhere near the interactivity of Underworld because there's no way to do that interactivity in an immersive way that we know of yet. And obviously the exception there is Elizabeth, who is a companion, who sticks with you, but obviously the interactivity there is also outside your control.
Yeah, well, and in that sense, that their approach with respect to Elizabeth, I see similarities to the guards in Thief, right, where they're not actually all that smart, but within the narrow confines of their assigned role, right?
Yep.
We're able to make them convincing, because all they really need to do is be guards, right? And likewise, with Elizabeth, with things never slowing down to the point that she needs to be anything other than essentially, your combat wingman, for the most part.
Right. And even so, with Elizabeth, they had a dedicated team of half a dozen people for over a year. Did nothing but try to make Elizabeth live up to this level of simulation of everything else, basically.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Which kind of speaks to the why these decisions were made. Like, given how difficult it gets eventually.
So the Elizabeth team was as big as the System Shock team. The System Shock is another way of putting it.
Well, I find it so interesting because like the whole way System Shock was designed was to avoid having to do an Elizabeth.
Right.
Yes.
And then like, yeah, they just for the final Shock game, they were like, okay, we're gonna try to fix the problem
God damn
that
it.
we originally tried to avoid.
Yeah.
In this
Well, and I
entire series.
One thing that I see with the problem of convincing character AI in general, right, is it's such a huge problem that you don't see anyone making any progress on it. And I kind of ascribe that to a difficulty of A, identifying, and B, kind of accepting what the baby steps would even be, right?
Right.